So we're truly grateful. Thank you for coming here and joining us tonight at the Journalists and Writers Foundation high-level reception for the United Nations 80th General Assembly, where we're convening UN diplomats with JWF's global partners from 24 different countries who are here to participate across 3 days for the UNGA 80th Session Action. So I wanted to start off by asking you to please introduce yourself.
Right, so I'm Michael Bociurkiw, and I'm a global affairs analyst, TV commentator. I'm a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, and I'm a former spokesperson for UNICEF in the occupied Palestinian territories as well as globally. And I'm also a former spokesperson for the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us. So the theme this year for the 80th session is Better Together. How would you reflect on this thematic action given your specific expertise?
Well, your question is very timely because just this morning we had a roundtable where it wasn't necessarily better together, but it's if we have peace or a solution to a war in one part of the world, it affects all of us. So if one of us are free, all of us should feel more free. And the point that was being made is that we shouldn't look at conflicts in isolation. And by the way, there are not only more conflicts going on, but they're lasting longer. So we have the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We have the absolute humanitarian disaster, slaughter in Gaza, starvation, man-made. Sudan is one of the most underreported crises in the world, many, many others. And what we were talking about this morning is that all of us should be concerned about each other's conflicts. And for example, in 1932-33, Ukraine had a man-made famine orchestrated by Stalin where up to 8 million people died. Hence, I was saying in an op-ed recently that Ukraine should feel compelled to speak out on the people for the people in Gaza, the Palestinians, because they have lived through something similarly before. So we're a very, very interconnected world, and we should act accordingly. I don't think we can leave things as much as we used to up to just the UN or to elected leaders. I think there's been sadly, a lot of failures in leadership. And hence, I think that's why we're seeing a lot more death and destruction around the world.
Right. Failure in leadership, definitely a big problem. But in your opinion, what do you think is the biggest challenge currently facing maybe media professionals, especially in non-democratic states?
Well, that's a biggie. Media professionals are under assault not only in non-democratic states, but also democratic states. I mean, I have to be careful what I say right now because I'm a guest to this country. But journalists are under assault worldwide. And if it isn't them being targeted by the usual suspects, whether it's the Israelis or whether it's the Russians, there are also legal means that are being used to suppress journalists. And when you see that happening time and time again, you see a lot of self-censorship going on. A friend of mine, John Lee Anderson of The Atlantic, has spoken recently at 2 conferences I was at, and he said that how dare the leader of the free world call the media fake news in front of their faces, for example, on Air Force One. And he said, and I agree with him, that maybe journalists need to stand up more for themselves, not necessarily become militant, but say at least, how dare you? And because the problem is when he says that and he repeats it almost on a daily basis, his followers start to believe that. And it's a very, very dangerous place to be because I think also what it does is it opens up the opportunity for ordinary people or others or bad actors to target journalists. So journalism is such an important pillar, not only for truth-telling, but in the case of Ukraine, for example, for anti-corruption efforts, for unveiling corruption.
That's a really interesting point that you make about how there really is an active silencing of journalists, but then there is sort of that implicit, indirect self-censoring, which is also extremely problematic. So thank you so much for shedding so much insight,
You're welcome.
We're so happy that you're here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers.